At 3:17 a.m., she got out of bed. She thought I was asleep. She didn't know the cameras were on. She didn't know I'd switched the card. She didn't know this was the moment I'd been waiting for. Lauren always moved like a dancer. Light, quiet, confident. She picked up my wallet from the counter like it was hers. Like she owned everything in this house. Like she owned me. But what she didn't know was that I'd already let her win for weeks. I let her check my wallet. Let her memorize the numbers. Let her get comfortable. Because that's how you catch a liar. You don't shout. You don't fight. You let them walk into their own trap. And Lauren, she was walking right into it. She wasn't just stealing. She was building her story. The kind that ends in headlines or handcuffs. Paris. That was her escape. A spa weekend with her sister. What she didn't know was that the bait card she took had a name. And that name was mine. Tracked, tagged, monitored. Down to the last euro she'd spend on champagne. At 3:17 a.m., Lauren took my card. At 3:18 a.m., I started the clock. Tick, tick. Not on her freedom, on her arrest. Ethan Cole never liked noise. Not in conversations, not in relationships, not in data. He worked in silence. 8 years in corporate cybersecurity, tracking down fraud, employee theft, and digital scams. The kind of cases where one missed detail could cost millions. Ethan was the guy companies called when something felt off. He didn't guess. He verified. He didn't accuse. He traced. The quiet kind of man who knew every transaction told a story. He lived in Austin, Texas, a one-story home tucked behind tall oak trees. Nothing flashy, just firewalls, fiber optics, and a triple-locked office door. Clients knew him as professional. His friends, they didn't really know what he did, and that's how he liked it. There was something satisfying about catching liars with their own clicks. A canceled order, a double payment, a login from the wrong time zone. Fraud always left fingerprints. Ethan was the guy who found them and turned them into evidence. But there was one thing he hadn't prepared for. One person he'd never think to monitor. His own wife. Not until the little signs started showing. A question too specific. A glance too long at his laptop screen. A grocery receipt that never appeared. Ethan didn't panic. He watched. Because in his world, silence wasn't weakness. It was the start of the hunt. Lauren Carter was stunning. Not loud, not showy, but the kind of beauty that made people underestimate her. Big brown eyes, hair always tucked just right, a voice soft enough to ask anything and get away with it. She met Ethan at a fintech conference after party. He was awkward in crowds. She wasn't. She asked what he did. He mumbled something about fraud detection. Her eyes lit up. "That's fascinating," she said. And she meant it. Lauren didn't flirt. She studied. She asked about systems, protocols, password habits. She wanted to understand how trust was built and how it could be broken. Back then, Ethan saw her curiosity as charm. Now he remembered it as strategy. Lauren worked part-time at a luxury boutique, Midtown Austin, high-end clientele. She said she liked helping women feel powerful, but Ethan noticed. She never bought anything from the store, yet her closet kept growing. She wore names he didn't recognize, jewelry he didn't buy, perfume he'd never smelled before. When he asked, she smiled. Gifts from Vanessa, she'd say. Perks from work, she'd wink. He wanted to believe her, because Lauren was the kind of woman who didn't need to lie, or so he thought. But the truth, Lauren didn't steal like a thief. She infiltrated like a ghost, one question at a time, one access point at a time. She didn't break the rules. She learned how to bend them from the man who wrote them. They looked like a perfect couple, at least from the outside. Quiet dinners, weekend trips, birthday posts with smiling photos. But behind the filters, something was cracking. It started small. Lauren compared everything. Vanessa's house, Vanessa's car, Vanessa's diamond anniversary ring. She's not smarter, Lauren once said. She just married better. Ethan laughed it off. But she wasn't joking. Every time they passed a luxury store, Lauren paused a little longer. Every time Ethan mentioned finances, she changed the subject. He made good money, stable, clean, but not first class to Europe money. Not designer bag every season money. Lauren never said she wasn't happy. She just stopped acting like she was. She began staying later at work, checking her phone more, asking questions she used to ignore. How fast do banks flag weird charges? Do alerts show up right away? Ethan told her casually, like a husband answering a curious wife. But in his line of work, patterns always mattered. And this was a pattern. One he'd seen in clients, in victims, in criminals. Lauren didn't yell. She didn't accuse. She adjusted, quietly, subtly, as if preparing for something or someone else. And Ethan, he said nothing, because the best way to catch a lie is to let it finish its sentence. It started with his wallet, always during his showers. Ethan would step out, and it wouldn't be where he left it. Still on the counter, still zipped, but slightly turned. Not enough for a stranger to notice, but Ethan wasn't a stranger to details. Once the top card was flipped, another time the receipts were gone. Lauren had an excuse every time. Oh, I was just checking for that grocery bill. Didn't you need the dry cleaning ticket? Always soft, always smiling, always too smooth. Ethan didn't confront her. Not yet. He did what he always did when something felt off. He documented. He placed a tiny camera above the kitchen light, synced it to his work server, encrypted everything. Then he waited. Over the next 2 weeks, she touched the wallet 7 times. Never in a rush, never careless. She handled the cards like she was learning them. Not stealing, not yet, but preparing. He watched her trace the numbers with her finger, watched her take mental snapshots. Ethan didn't breathe, because in his world, this was the moment before the crime, where intent whispered, before impact screamed. He didn't tell her he noticed, didn't lock the wallet away. He wanted to know how far she'd go, because sometimes catching the thief isn't enough. You have to watch them, choose to become one. Ethan didn't change the locks. He didn't set a trap. He built one, not with cameras, not with a confrontation, but with code. He opened a dormant account, one only he knew existed, linked it to a fresh debit card, loaded it with exactly $60,000. Not $1 more, not $1 less. He called it the honeypot. Every transaction would be tracked, flagged, timestamped, GPS tagged. He used the same fraud monitoring software he built for Fortune 500 companies. Silent, precise, ruthless. Then he placed the bait, swapped the card into his wallet. Same slot, same order, same worn leather fold. And he waited. 1 day. 2. Lauren didn't touch it. Then, on the 3rd morning, she hesitated. Just a second too long. Ethan watched the footage that night, frame by frame. She picked up the wallet, opened it, paused. Her eyes flicked to the card. She smiled and put it back, but not quite the same way. That was the moment Ethan knew. She'd seen it, and she was thinking, not about groceries, not about budgets, but about opportunity. He turned off the footage and leaned back in his chair. The trap was set. Now, all it needed was a thief bold enough to believe no one was watching. It happened on a Tuesday, 11:15 a.m. Ethan was in a client meeting when his phone buzzed. Transaction alert, $500. Luxury boutique, downtown Austin. He didn't flinch, didn't say a word. He simply checked the name of the store. It was the same one Lauren had mentioned, just the day before. Vanessa and I might pop in, she'd said, just window shopping. Another buzz, $2,000. Then another, $1,800. By lunch, the total hit $8,000. Designer handbags, shoes, jewelry. Each purchase log tracked timestamp to the second. Ethan sat in his car and watched it all roll in. Not random, not impulsive. This was a list, a plan. Lauren wasn't just spending, she was executing. At 2:03 p.m. the pattern shifted. Travel agency, $4,000. Round trip, first class, Paris. Flight leaving Thursday morning. Ethan stared at the screen. She was running. Not to escape, but to indulge. Because she thought it was safe. Because she thought it was her money now. But that was the beauty of bait. It doesn't stop the thief. It records them. Every swipe, every lie, every mile she flew was another nail in the story she didn't know she was writing. Thursday morning came. Lauren made breakfast. Eggs, toast, fresh coffee. She kissed him on the cheek like it was any other day. Vanessa booked a last-minute spa weekend, she said. Her treat. Will be back Monday. Ethan smiled. That's nice of her. He didn't ask questions, didn't press. He helped carry her suitcase to the car, loaded it in the trunk, even opened the door for her. "Enjoy yourself," he said. "Relax." She nodded, slid on her sunglasses. "You know how I am about budgets." She winked. "I'll keep it light." He watched her drive away, turned, walked back inside, and opened the monitoring dashboard. 10 minutes later, airport parking, long-term lot, no spa resort in sight. Lauren wasn't going to a cabin with her sister. She was going to Paris, alone, on someone else's dime. By 5:00 a.m. the next day, the alerts started flooding in. France, designer stores, Michelin star restaurants. Lauren was living her fantasy. Ethan, he was watching every second of it. He didn't cry, didn't call. He made coffee, sat down at his desk, and smiled. Because now the thief wasn't just stealing. She was documenting herself, in real time, across borders, with full digital proof. And she didn't even know. The moment she boarded that plane, she'd entered his system. Paris lit up like a postcard. The boutiques, the boulevards, the late-night wine on sidewalk cafes. Lauren was living her best life, and Ethan, he was building her case, transaction by transaction. The bait card logged everything. $1.500, Avenue Montaigne. $2 300 Champs-Élysées. $4.000 Rue Saint-Honoré. Handbags, jewelry, hotel suites with rooftop views. Every swipe pinged his phone. Not just the amount, but where, when, and how fast the money was disappearing. Ethan tracked her footsteps like GPS breadcrumbs. She wasn't hiding. She didn't need to. She thought this was victory, that she had gotten away. But what she didn't know was that her spending pattern had triggered international fraud alerts. The volume, the luxury focus, the sudden jump from domestic to global use. Bank systems thought it was money laundering. And they weren't wrong. By the end of day 2, 3 different financial crime units were reviewing her activity. Interpol, FBI cybercrime, customs enforcement in France. She thought she was shopping. In reality, she was tripping every legal wire designed to catch organized financial criminals. Ethan didn't stop her. He let her keep spending, because every dollar she burned was another second added to her sentence. Thursday afternoon, Ethan's phone rang. Unknown number, Washington, D.C. area code. "Mr. Cole, this is Agent Rachel Lynn, FBI Cybercrime Division. We've flagged activity on an account tied to your name. High-volume international transactions, luxury purchases, potential identity misuse." He didn't hesitate. "I'm aware," he said. "I set it up." Silence. "You... what?" "I'm tracking someone close to me. They're using a bait account I control. Every charge is being logged and geo-tracked in real time." Another pause. "Mr. Cole, are you saying you're running a sting operation on your own spouse?" "I'm collecting evidence. You now have it too." Agent Lynn asked for everything. Transaction logs, account setup, surveillance timestamps. Ethan sent it all within 10 minutes. An hour later, she called back. "Interpol confirms the purchase pattern matches known laundering profiles. She's triggered 4 international red flags. And customs in France just notified us they've flagged her passport for return screening." Ethan exhaled. Calm. Precise. "What happens when she comes back?" "She'll face enhanced customs inspection. If she can't prove legitimate income for her spending, we move to detain." And just like that, the game changed. No more watching. No more waiting. Ethan wasn't just documenting anymore. He was coordinating. Because this wasn't just betrayal. It was federal crime. And the clock was ticking, not toward her freedom, but toward her fall. Friday evening, his phone rang again. Lauren. Caller ID unknown. Caller location Paris. Ethan let it ring once, twice, then answered. "Hey, babe," she chirped. "I'm having the most amazing time." He heard wine glasses, French voices, laughter in the background. "Vanessa knows all the best spots," she continued. "We've been shopping, eating like queens. It's unreal." "Sounds nice," Ethan said flatly. "Oh, and I got you something. This little boutique near the Louvre, you'll love it." He almost laughed. Almost. "When are you flying back?" "Sunday night," she said. "Can't wait to show you everything." "Yeah," he replied. "I'm sure customs will be impressed." She paused. "What?" "Nothing, just safe travels." She chuckled. "You're so weird sometimes." They hung up. Ethan stared at the screen. New alert $4,000 jewelry purchase. $1 wine shop. She was still spending, still smiling, still lying. But this time her lies weren't staying in Paris. They were flying back with her, in her luggage, on her passport, inside every purchase tracked to the second. What she didn't know, her arrival would be greeted by more than just her husband, because the moment she stepped off that plane, her freedom would expire. Sunday, 6:42 p.m. Flight 447 from Paris landed at Austin International. Lauren texted, "Just landed. Can't wait to show you everything." Ethan didn't reply. He was already parked outside, watching the terminal from a distance. Inside, Customs and Border Protection agents waited, not with guns, not with alarms, but with questions. Lauren strolled through passport control designer luggage in tow, wearing sunglasses indoors. She smiled at the officer, stamped, cleared. Then, "Ma'am, this way, please. We need a secondary screening." She blinked. "Oh, sure. Is something wrong?" "Just a routine customs check." They opened her bags. Over $40,000 in luxury goods. Receipts matched every flag transaction. "Can you verify the source of funds for these purchases?" She didn't blink. "My husband gave me his card. Everything was authorized." Outside, Ethan's phone rang. "Agent Lynn. She claims you approved the spending. Are you prepared to make a statement?" "I never gave her permission," Ethan said, clear, sharp, final. Lauren was led away. No screaming, no crying. Just confusion. The same smile she used to disarm Ethan now looked lost in fluorescent airport lighting. That evening she sat in a federal holding cell. No boutique walls, no mirrors, just four cold surfaces and silence. And for the first time, she realized the difference between spending borrowed money and crossing a man who builds traps for a living. Tuesday morning, federal courthouse downtown Austin. Lauren walked in wearing an orange jumpsuit, wrist cuffed, eyes down. Gone were the sunglasses, gone was the Paris glow. She looked ordinary. The courtroom was silent as the charges were read aloud. Credit card fraud, identity theft, international money laundering. Each count carried years, not months of prison time. Ethan sat in the back, still, expressionless, just watching. The prosecutor spoke. "Your Honor, the defendant engaged in a calculated scheme spanning over 18 months. She accessed financial information from employers, family, and strangers, using it to fund luxury travel, high-end shopping, and cover her tracks with lies." Lauren's court-appointed attorney tried to push for bail. First-time offender, no violent history, strong community ties. But the assistant U.S. attorney had evidence. The notebook found in her luggage, dozens of card numbers, names that didn't match her address or her life. "We've identified at least 7 victims," he said. "Multiple cities, multiple accounts, and we're still counting." Then came the clincher. "Your Honor, she used her own husband's expertise against him until he turned the system back on her." Judge didn't blink. Given the scope of the crimes and the risk of flight, bail is denied. Lauren turned, scanning the room. Her eyes locked with Ethan's. He didn't wave. He didn't nod. He just stood and walked out, because sometimes revenge isn't loud. It's legal. 3 months later, Lauren stood before the judge again. No designer heels, no rehearsed charm, just a jumpsuit and consequences. She pled guilty. The evidence was too strong, too exact, too public. Over $400,000 stolen across 18 months. 7 confirmed victims. A notebook of names that told its own story. The court sentenced her to 8 years in federal prison, plus 3 years of supervised release, plus full restitution, $400,000 to be repaid. Not that she could. Ethan didn't attend the sentencing. He didn't need to. His job was done. Back home, he changed every password, closed every account, sold the house. Too many memories in the walls. Too many echoes of someone who never really existed. He moved to Denver, took a senior role at a cybersecurity firm, still tracking financial crimes, still catching thieves. But now, he trusts no one. Vanessa called once. "Ethan, I didn't know. She lied to me too." He believed her, because Lauren didn't just steal money. She stole truth. She turned love into leverage and tried to beat someone who builds traps for a living In the end, she wasn't clever. She was predictable, and predictable thieves get documented, get caught, get sentenced. Some stories don't end with screams. They end with silence, paperwork, courtrooms, and cold hard sentences. Lauren didn't lose her freedom in Paris. She lost it the moment she thought no one was watching. But someone was. Ethan didn't rage, didn't shout, didn't burn bridges. He opened a case file and let her write her own confession one swipe at a time. This wasn't revenge out of anger. It was revenge out of precision, out of truth. Because betrayal that deep doesn't need fireworks. It needs evidence. And when the gavel dropped, it wasn't just a punishment. It was closure. For every victim, for every dollar, for every time Ethan looked into the eyes of someone who only saw him as access, not a partner. He didn't take satisfaction in her downfall. He took back control. Because trust once broken becomes data, and data when tracked becomes justice. So next time you think no one's watching, remember, some people don't fight back with fists. They fight back with systems. People like Lauren don't vanish. They adapt, change names, change cities, find new marks. And sometimes they even think they've gotten smarter. But the truth, there's always someone like Ethan out there. Quiet, observant, patient, waiting for the moment the lies go just a little too far. Because fraud leaves footprints, betrayal leaves patterns, and justice, it always leaves scars. This wasn't the first time a thief tried to play someone smarter than them, and it won't be the last. The next story might involve a fake inheritance, a stolen identity, a betrayal deeper than marriage. And when it happens, we'll be right here, unpacking it, one secret at a time. So if you believe that silence can be power, that justice doesn't always need a courtroom gavel, that some stories are best told after the fall, you know where to find us. This is just one revenge story. There are hundreds more, some still unfolding, some already set in motion. And trust me, you won't want to miss the next one.